Welcome back. So let's figure out how we actually do the actual update. Now we can click the update and get some information about the user, even though there's a small delay. That's okay, we'll live with that. But how do we actually, when we put in new information, how do we actually save and actually send the data back to the backend or the REST API? So what we'll do here is, first of all, let's jump to Postman and just see how we would do it in Postman. Well, we would have to kind of go in again and decide on what customer we wanted to update. Let's just say it was John Johnson right here. This is the guy I wanted to update. And I'm going to just copy all that information about him. I'm going to go in and create a put request, right? It's a put request. I need to put in who I want to update. In my case, it was John Johnson, who had ID of 1. And I'm going to jump into the body right here. And I'm going to put in the information that I just took from John Johnson. There we go. This is all the information I just grabbed from that guy over here in the GET request that I made earlier. I'm going to then, in the put request, I'm going to try and just submit this right here. And since I have the ID here, it should be matched with the ID here, and I should actually be able to do the update. Let's just try and see what happens. It works, but it didn't make a change, of course. Let's try and put in another name and try again. Now it's Johnson 2, John Johnson 2 even, there we go, and let's put in 2 here as well. Sweet, so now he's updated, right? So that seems to be working. Let's just try and jump into our code right here and see if we load again. Now he's also John Johnson 2 here. So the update works to the back end. Perfect. Now how do we do the same thing? Now again, I really feel Postman is a good place to start, or any type of REST simulation program, because you now know exactly what you need to do. I can see right now what I need. I need a put request. I need to add the URL pretty much like when I did the delete, exactly the same thing. I need to add the body tag right here where I need to put in the information that I want to update, including his ID, right? That's all I need, and then I'll actually do the update. So let's try and do it. So let's jump back to our code and start inside our service. So let's start out here just by pretty much saying that we want to do the update right here. So what we want to do is we want to return, and this time what we're going to return is this HTTP again, dot put, right? Because it's an update, and here we're going to do exactly the same thing. So let me just paste in this URL right here. But instead of getting the ID up here, we're actually going to get the ID by saying customer.id. There we go. That should be all we had to do. Now the put kind of wants us to add one more parameter to accept. And the second parameter you need to add is, of course, the customer to update, right? So again, if we jump back to Postman, notice we have the URL here, and that was kind of the first part of this is the URL. Notice I didn't put this in there, but this is kind of to help me out. I want to put in a URL, and this is the URL, right? And the second part is actually the object that you put inside the body. And we're going to do the same thing soon with the create. So just think of it this way. First part, URL. So we're covering this up here. But we also need to send some data, and that's the second part, which we put in right after the comma. So that's kind of how we do an update. And then we should be able to get rid of all of this nonsense right here, because now we're actually creating an update. Now again, let's just return an observable of any for now. I'm not 100% sure. I think I returned the actual customer, so let's just try and say we want to do that. And if I want to do this, I also have to put that customer information down here to explain that what I'm getting back is something you can convert into a customer. Sweet. So now we have the customer back. Let's try and go to our update component again to see what actually happens now when we do the save. Because it pretty much means that right now, when we've updated the customer, let's return. And again, we can do that by subscribing to this event. So we'll say subscribe. And when we get back, we're actually going to get the customer back who was just updated. Whoops, let's call him customer updated, right, from the REST. And I'm not going to use him right now. I just want to kind of move back to /customers when I've updated this guy. Like this, because then customers will load him and everything will look fine. Now, you have to notice, since I'm not using this guy, you can actually say, if you're not using something, you can just put in parentheses.end right here. You don't have to put in any information in here if you don't want to use it anyway. So that's just a small hint. There we go. Let's see what happens now. Jumping into the update of this guy, and let's change him into Egon Olsen. And he lives at Olsen Street. And let's save. So when the update has happened, it redirects me back and shows me the new customer, right? Pretty amazing. So again, it won't redirect me until the customer is updated. So think of it this way. Until you actually get an event back that the customer was updated, so it's not going to happen, it's not going to update anything or redirect me in any way until we actually done updating the customer. Let me prove that to you. Let me try and just change this to a new value right here and save. And notice I'm going to hit the breakpoint. But that means the customer is now updated. And I can prove that if I go over to Postman again and get all customers. Let's just get all customers right here. And you'll see that the update actually has occurred because it's now called 22, 22, and 22222. Right? So it did update the customer. I just didn't redirect myself yet because I wanted to wait here until the customer was updated. Pretty much meaning that I'm staying here until the customer is updated. And now he is updated, so now I send myself back. And what will happen is when I hit this page, automatically it'll reload my customer again. So now you have update up and running as well. Still, it's not a beautiful UI. Let's fix it later. See you next time. Have fun.